Hello and welcome. I'm Megan Moeller, a productivity enthusiast here at ActivTrak, and I get to be your tour guide of sorts for today. Thank you so much for joining us. I do see some people that are joining us for the first time, and I want to be the first to say welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. And I also see some folks that have come back from other sessions, and I just want to say welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here. So let's go ahead and move into today's session. Is AI actually improving productivity? Learn how to measure the impact with ActivTrak and be the first to see our new AI capabilities. I think a great way to set the foundation is to actually go ahead and look at our poll results. So I'm going to go ahead and just give you a couple more seconds to take this poll, because I would really like to see just a little bit more participation. Come on, everybody, don't let me down. Y'all are always so great at taking these and helping us kind of understand what's going on. I would love just a little bit more. I'll give you just another second or two. All right. Okay, awesome. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, so when it comes to your biggest challenge, it looks like 50% is measuring AI's impact on productivity. So that's a pretty large number and very consistent with what we're seeing and the conversations we're having. And then it looks like about 26.5% understanding exposure to unsanctioned or risky AI tools, and then 20% identifying where to deploy AI next. So thank you so much for sharing that information. I also think it's really interesting for you to see where your peers are at. And with that, I would actually like to go ahead and invite our experts on to join me. We have our Chief Product Officer, Javier Aldrete, who can come on. Hello, Javier.
Hello, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. And then we also have our VP of Customer Solutions, Victor, we call him Vic, Obando, who will take you through today's content. Hi, Vic.
Hi, Megan. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited about today's topic. I know we have a lot to cover. Reminder, everyone, if you have questions, put them in that Q&A, which should be right underneath where I'm speaking. Go ahead and pop those in while we are talking and covering the content and the demo. And we will, address them either in the flow of the session or at the end. So with that, Javier, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate it. And welcome, everyone. We're very excited, Vic and I, to talk to you about our latest capabilities around AI adoption and impact. But before we dive into all of that, we want to level set everybody on the macro trend that we're seeing by being in this work intelligence space for many years, where we understand and work with many, many companies that are struggling with all the different dynamics that have evolved in the workplace. Not so long ago, we were still all adjusting to remote and hybrid work after the pandemic and kind of the proliferation of all the digital activity that has happened, right? The even after that, the return to office or partial return to office for most people. But the reality is that the workforce is predominantly distributed, right? And that has changed a lot of those dynamics. And we were with all of you through that journey together as we evolve our platform and we help many customers in that journey. Second is we have another big macro wave happening to all of us, which is with AI, work is being transformed. All organizations are or a large proportion, as you can see the percentages here, 89%, are deploying AI, and it has moved past just exploration or experimentation and more into production-ready scenarios and workflows. And for some companies, perhaps not across the board, but certainly for some companies and in some functions and roles. And so it's moving from a novelty to work is truly transformed with AI in its potential and its goodness. To the fact that despite all of that, people are not yet seeing all the value, or those that are seeing it are having a hard time quantifying how much value they're getting about it. And because they still see productivity metrics being similar, or they still see output and revenue metrics being along the same lines, despite all the investments in AI, right? And now some of these things take time, and nobody's saying that AI is not doing its job. It's saying it's really, really hard to pinpoint how it's changing our lives and how it's changing work. And that's what we're observing by working with many of you. Now, that can be mostly exemplified by some of the studies that we do on a regular basis. For those of you that don't know us, we do on an annual basis a state of the workplace report where we analyze in aggregate in an anonymized way the data from many, many of our clients and identify trends around behaviors at work, adoption of different tools, et cetera. We also do benchmarks by function in industry and other things. But this particular one was very eye-opening because what we're seeing is there is a humongous increase of using AI tools, right? Not surprising, 80% of employees are now using them. But what we're seeing is that not only people are spending a ton more in those tools proportionally to all work, right? 8x more the average time spent in tools in terms of increase. But also, it's not like people are working less now because AI is helping them. What we're seeing is that work is being amplified. There is more work happening because people are feeling more productive and they can get more accomplished with the help of AI tools. And we're seeing them a lot more engaged in the form of working larger hours, longer days, right? Now, there's different scenarios, different pockets, so I don't want to generalize that as the only answer. But in the overall perspective, when we analyze everything in context, that's what we're seeing, right? People are not working less. They're not just reclaiming that time back to do more personal time. They're reusing that work to do something else. The question is, what are they doing with that? Right. And that's where a lot of our clients are coming to us and saying, can you help us answer these questions? Can you help us tell which particular functions are getting more of their investments on AI, which ones are repurposing that to high value work and so forth, right? So really, really interesting dynamics validated with real data across industries. You can see some of the numbers of all the employees and companies that are included in our State of the Workplace report. If you're interested in that, come to our website, and I'm sure Megan will share with all of you too. It's fascinating, really interesting findings for everyone. Now, for those of you that don't know ActivTrak, I know there's a lot of known names in the list that are attending today, but those of you that don't know us, we're a work intelligence company. We're a data company that collects information on how work happens. We have become the system of record for that work happens for many, many clients. We have close to 10,000 companies that work with us these days. And we support a number of use cases from workforce management to productivity optimization, to AI adoption and impact, to using all this data to do strategic planning and decisions. Today, we're going to focus our attention on the productivity optimization side and the AI impact and how AI is really affecting or not affecting productivity. And you'll see some of our new capabilities that allow customers and organizations understand what is the impact of AI on different other metrics around productivity and workflows and things of the like. So with that, let me start getting into the meat of the conversation. Now, our roadmap, our capabilities have been built based on the feedback from all of you, right? Both prospects, customers, folks that have been for us for many years. And we see these different patterns coming up by different leaders and different functions, right? First one, and was one of the questions, is, hey, where is AI putting us at risk? Where is the use of personal AI inadvertently, sometimes because of ignorance or not enough training? Where is that putting us at risk because we're putting or uploading data that is sensitive, or is customer data, or is internal competitive data that we don't want to share with AI, right? So that's one of the questions we hear a lot from our client base. It's typically a CTO or a CIO. Second is question we were talking about, which is where is AI helping or hurting productivity? Are we doing more of the right work? Are we doing less of low value work and delegating that to AI, or doing faster with AI? Next, and this is the one where it gets fun, like many of us are still in the form of figuring out exactly how to embed AI into our workflows, but the CFOs are starting to ask, hey, everybody, we have given licenses to a lot of people. We have approved a lot of the requests for Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT, and many companies have all of the above. What are we getting out of it? Is it worth the spend? Can I curtail licenses? Instead of having 3 AI tools, can I centralize everything to one, which is the right one for each function. They're asking these financial questions, right? And then finally, CHROs are asking, okay, is this making our people happier? Are they feeling that they have the right workload balance? Or they're burning out and they're spending longer hours? Is AI a retention tool for us as a company, or is it going to be a source of risk for attrition, right? Very, very valid questions, probably being asked across every of your companies, in the boardroom, in the executive meetings, in the operations meetings. But this is what we're hearing through our client base. And that leads us to what we want to share with you today, which is our new capabilities around AI insights, which focus on three major use cases. The first one is discovery and compliance. What are the tools being used? Which of those are approved and sanctioned and which are not? And what is our risk, right? Second is, where are we driving and doing a good job around maturity, and how is that maturity progressing over time? And I'm going to show you a schematic next to explain what we mean by adoption maturity levels, because not all AI activity is created equally, right? And it will have different levels of value and ROI attached to it. And then finally, the million-dollar question is, what is the impact that AI is having on capacity and productivity? And we are in such a unique position to help you all to do that, because we already are collecting the activity of all work across all platforms, all tools, not just AI tools, but AI is a new dynamic. So we're able to correlate and juxtapose AI, the rise of AI usage and embed it into workflows against capacity, utilization, productivity, efficiency, and so forth, right? So we're very, very excited to provide those insights for you all. And before I handed it over to Vic to give you a demo on our capabilities, I want to give you a frame of mind, if you will, a framework or a model of how to think about adoption and maturity in your workplace. We have developed this framework that speaks to these levels of maturity, from exploration on the far right to all the way to full automation on the far left, to all the way to full automation on the far right. And what we mean by this is that as you go through the adoption of a new technology, especially something like AI, there is both the role of the human and the role of AI. And initially, in the first phase here, the research assistance phase, what you're doing is mostly using the AI tools like a search engine. You're doing research, right? You're asking Chat GPT or Gemini or Claude a question or a research that you're doing that before you were asking Google, right, and searches. And that's not necessarily bad, but it's the lowest value level of these AI tools, because you can get a lot of the same things without paying a license through Google free, right? Now, again, a lot of people, all of us, I myself, started there, right? That's where most people start, with this research assistant, and it's sporadic like Google searches, right? But later you start moving into getting it into task assistance. Hey, I typically do these 10 tasks through the day. 2 of them, AI helps me do it faster and at scale, whether it's data manipulation, whether it's generating email content, whether it's generating documents that you need to produce on a daily basis. That's where you start delegating some of your tasks to AI. Then you move into workflow integration. That's where it's becomes more regular. And you have these workflows that you do every day where AI does a component for you, and you become more of the approver of those outputs and not the creator necessarily, or the prompter, if you will. Like, AI is starting to get embedded and you are just like the human in the loop making decisions. Then you start moving into semi-automation or guided automation and all the way to full automation. And that's where agentic AI comes in. This is where you actually have agents running all the time that do part of the work, and you might intervene on exceptions. Hey, I need you to review Mr. Human. The AI agent might tell you, and you need to approve or reject a particular action, all the way to, hey, all you're doing is overseeing final results, but you're not in that loop, right? And again, we don't believe that everybody will go through every phase of these, because certain functions are more adept to applying different things. What we're seeing, though, is that most of the organizations are either in stage 1 and stage 2 when you look at the aggregate. Very few are getting through the whole progression. If anything, there might be a few team members or a few teams that might get it a little bit further, but we're still in the overall grand scheme of things, based on our own analysis of many customers. Most folks are still in the exploration phase, in a little bit of task assistance, and many are also in the no AI use still, surprisingly, right? But there's still some in that bucket. And I share this with you because when you see Vic's demo, you'll see how we overlay these concepts of maturity as we compare the impact of different levels of usage with other metrics of efficiency, productivity, focus, et cetera, high value work. And each of these levels have different levels of value and ROI for you, okay? So you'll see that as we go along, but without further ado, I'm gonna hand over the demo to Vic.
Awesome, thank you, Javier. And let me share my screen here. And if you can tell me when you're able to see it. Fantastic.
Looks good.
Looks good. Thank you, Vic.
All right, wonderful. So let's jump right in. And thank you, Javier, for that introduction. And before jumping into the new stuff, I actually wanted to take just a few steps back and show you certain capabilities that you can actually get and do today with the product that you have. So this is if you're already an ActivTrak customer, and you want to see how can I get ahead of some of this insights that Javier is talking about. Just wanted to give you a highlight of where you could go today. So let me start by showing you some insights on the category usage. So this applies regardless of your license. You should have access to this particular dashboard. And one of the items that I love about this report is the ability to go in and select that AI tool and assistant, which is a default category for ActivTrak to classify a lot of these activities. So if you look into this, I have the ability to go in, I looked at last month's data across all my users, selecting that. And while the percentage of activity is significantly low, you can see that the hours is actually meaningful enough for us to worry about. 85 hours just last month across my users on different, on this particular category, and be able to see which applications, which AI tools are being used across my organization. This actually is kind of that foundational piece on the compliance side of things and the discovery of what are people doing AI wise in my, within the organization, and are they using sanctioned or non-authorized tools? Another angle that you can also take, this is a double click into that classification, is let's say that you want to get a little more detail into that Claude AI and who's using it, how frequent they're using it. Is it just a sporadic use? Is it a consistent use? And you can actually use the website usage dashboard, go in that dashboard as well, search for that AI tool. You will be able to see that. You can also look into whether you have a pending classification for one of those AI technologies as we discover all of the applications in your environment, and then be able to really get into a more detailed level of who's using it, how frequent they're using it. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a sense that not everything that we're gonna be covering today is brand new, but you have some capabilities to get started with your AI discovery, AI adoption discovery component. For those on the larger plans, and if you do have access to the technology utilization, then you can get more detailed insights into the trends and the usage as well. In this particular case, I just have this section already staged just so, for the purpose of time, but I'm also looking at the last 30 days of my data, selecting my category as AI tools and assistants across all of my departments here, and you will be able to see which ones are the users that are actively on these categories, how many days have actually been using AI technologies, what is the average time per day. So we see here, myself is actually up there on the high duration followed by Jamie here with enough times during the day to see how they're being adopting AI. And more importantly here, a usage trend. So you can actually see the hours increasing or decreasing over time, and then the active users. So again, these are all capabilities that if you own ActivTrak today, depending on the plan that you have, you might be able to get some context from the category and the website usage, but also on those upper plans, the technology utilization, it gives you also a lot greater insight. Now, with that said, let's jump into some of the newer things that we've been baking into and we've been working on for you. And this is putting all the concepts that Javier just walked us through, the compliance, the adoption, the impact, all into a digestible dashboard that you can consume and really better understand how your organization is using AI and what is that translating into right for you. So let's start with compliance. This is foundational to everything. We want to know what's out there so we can start making the right decisions. And right out of the box, you'll see some insights that this particular dashboard provides. So it will tell me, we have 156 users on these environments. Across those, we have 7 approved tools already that we've seen people using. And 112 users are actually on those approved tools. That is all good news. The majority of the users are actually doing the things that we want them, going into the technologies we want them to use. But in this particular case, I have 4 unapproved tools that are also being discovered by the systems, and we have 28 users on those unapproved tools. I saw on the poll that at least a quarter of you are looking into these specific use cases. Are people using sanction tools or not? So this is a really good starting point to get a magnitude feel of how things are happening across the organization, what's being used and where. So now we drive into a little more of that discovery piece. What are those unapproved tools? So I see Olama, I see Perplexity, Midjourney, for example. How many users are on those specific applications, and also the time that they're spending on this. And one of the items that you also be able to do here is maybe Perplexity is not a sanction tool today, but you're in the process of authorizing or approving this tool, working with your security team to make sure all the boxes are for becoming this an official tool. So you can always go back into our tool, approve this technology, flag it as productive, and then all that data is going to reflect accordingly. So this is not just a one point in time, but it's a recurring activity that you can go in. Maybe Cursor was a sanction tool last month, and we decided not to continue using that technology, and you have the ability to also track that over time. Javier, I don't know if you have any additional insights that you want to add in here, but also one thing that I do want to call out is, as you're thinking about your compliance and your discovery, not just understanding the technologies that we are observing that are being used across the organization, but the next level here is, who do I work with to make sure that we understand how they're using these things and what they need from us? So having that breakdown by department, so I can see digital marketing. We have 11 users here, and we got 3 unapproved tools being used in digital marketing. So maybe that is where I prioritize my time, talking to that organization, figure out what do they need from an AI perspective, what can we help them with, and maybe turn those on-sanction tools into authorized technology that's being vetted, by the organization.
Right. Hey,
and Vic, let me add.
Jump in. Just Vic, can you just clarify how you can get to this, or how you will be able to get to this, and sort of when this will be available?
That is a great question, Megan. Thank you for bringing that up. So this particular set of capabilities is powered by ActivConnect today. And we have, this is something that if you are an ActivConnect customer, you will have access to this kind of insights. We are also working, and Javier, I'll let you speak to the in-app capabilities that are also coming together on this. But there is going to be 2 sides of this. There is a direct in-application feature that mirrors these capabilities. And this particular demo is based on the ActivConnect service and the BI reports that we can produce with it.
Yeah, there were a couple of questions to that effect. Let me provide a little more clarity. So the first three vignettes that Victor demoed, the first three tabs that he demoed, right? The categories, the top websites, and the the adoption tab under tech usage, those are existing functionality that are either on the Essentials in Advanced plan or in the Professional and Premium plan, respectively. And those have been around for several years. What we're adding to what we're in the process of releasing and a select set of customers have access today is what Victor is describing, as well as what he's demoing, meaning, let me explain. We will have AI Insights feature available in both our out-of-the-box web application with the proper plan and capability. And we will also have it available through an ActivConnect BI template, like what Victor is demoing at this particular juncture. Both will be available depending on your preference of consumption of that information, either the out-of-the-box web reports or the BI reports through ActivConnect. Right now, we have it available for a select list of customers that have been giving us great feedback developing this capability, and it will be available for purchase acquisition by the end of May. We'll provide more information on that launch as we get near to that, but that is the way you will be able to access these new capabilities that Victor is describing here. This is the first of 3 use cases that he's going to demo, the AI compliance, but I want to hand it back to you, Vic, to do the others.
Awesome. Thank you guys for that. So let's jump right into the next tier of this, and is the adoption. So if we kind of think back about what Javier walked us through, the initial part of the presentation, understanding the stages of adoption from very sporadic, I'm just using AI for basic search, to now embed it into my workflow and using it for more strategic, perhaps more advanced aspects of my work. This is where you can actually start visualizing that aspect of it. So we break down these stages, in the maturity stages, into 4, starting at 0 and moving into stage 3, which is the more advanced stage. One of the items that I really love about this dashboard is the ability to be able to see by department how each specific department is progressing in that maturity stage. And what you will see and eventually the pattern that we're seeing across organizations, but what I believe you will see within your own organization as well, is people graduating from stage 0 to 1 and on, depending on their job function, depending on where AI is more impactful on the organization. And you will be able to see that trend over time, as you see on the trend bar here. But just kind of jumping back into that AI adoption by team here, you will be able to see things like, for example, IT security we have 38% of that department on stage 0, so very sporadic. They're using it for basic search, but 25% of them are already on stage 1 that are using it now for workflow. So you start seeing that maturity aspect of it. And then there's not one on stage 3, and then we have some power users there on or stage 2, I'm sorry, and then you have some power users there on that same organization all the way on stage 3, which means that they are using AI for a lot more time, focus on different things, and actually embedding AI into their workflow. And I'll show you a little more on that context in a second. But one of the items that this really highlights is that there is not a one size that you can let's say this is not a org level component, sometimes not even at a department level maturity, right? You will be able to really understand across each individual group how their different functions of those groups or the different individuals on those groups might be adopting AI, which ones might be champions that you can lean on to help coach others within that department, and how they've been being assisted by AI, or doing more work, more value work with the help of AI or not. And having that breakdown really helps you understand where those champions are, where the help is needed. Maybe someone you're trying to push, a particular function or department to take more advantage of AI hasn't been working well, so you have the ability also to add those changes over time. In regards to the tool usage, being able to really see what is driving most of that activity is also an important aspect. In the previous page, we looked at a combination of approved or unauthorized tools. In this particular case, we're looking at those sanction tools. These are the technologies that we have already in the systems, and we want or we have approved, and now we're wanting to see how people are actually taking advantage of those capabilities. And one interesting thing that you can see here in this dashboard right off the bat is the number of users. While we have between Microsoft and ChatGPT the same number of users, the amount of time on Copilot compared to ChatGPT, it's almost double. So that indicates what tools or what processes that are being driven by Copilot, or those individuals that are using Copilot are higher adopters. They're spending more time on those type of technologies compared to the other ones in this list. So again, if you have to go back and make a decision and say, maybe we make Copilot in this particular case the official, and we start consolidating some of the other AI technologies, this type of insights can help you drive those decisions as well. Javier, any additional insights that you would like to share on this?
Thank you for the overview, Vic. I think what you can see here is a very flexible framework in analytics, because not only you can see this by tool, by department, you can see the different pockets of departments. When you see at the bottom of this department list, you can see some of the departments that are more laggards in adoption, right? If you go down the list, IT infrastructure and digital marketing and technical support have less usage of that, more people percentage-wise on stage 0, fewer people on stage 2 and 3, right? And so this tells you which are fast adopters and which are not, to identify champions and figure out where you need to do your next adoption push, as well as you might need to have savings on licenses because they're just not being used even though you allocated them for them, right? But overall, what we're seeing is that there is a natural progression of more and more usage over time. You see that yellow line on the trend chart. That's a total amount of AI usage across everybody included. But you can see this by department, by tool, et cetera, right? So as you click this dashboard, you can see all of that functionality. Now, some of you are asking a little more details on how do we measure or how do we determine the levels of maturity? Right? What is the logic behind that? And there is a more detailed documentation behind it if you're interested. But at a high level, we're using a combination of percentage of AI time use as a proportion to your total work time, frequency of use, length of the sessions, and how the sessions are either context switching or focused. And those combination of items, as well as the type of activities that you're doing around them, give us a sense of, hey, is this a sporadic ask versus something that you regularly do over and over versus something that is a little more embedded, and that allows us to put people in different levels of the buckets. When we get to the roadmap section of this presentation, I'll tell you more how we're further enhancing that methodology and that framework, but it's a mix of frequency, type of interactions, length of usage, size of the sessions, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a number of different metrics around usage that allow us to put people in different buckets based on observed behaviors.
Thank you, Javier. That is a good call out. So just to recap that, this is not just time in AI as an aggregate, right? There is a lot more deeper insights to help us understand the maturity stage, including the sessions, the frequency, the time that you're spending on these technologies that actually bring this type of insights to life.
Yep.
So moving on to the impact side of this, and this is where we start getting, I saw one of the questions coming up as far as understanding productivity, the overall impact of the adoption. And one of the items that I find that is really powerful here is really starting to understand the impact on AI on the utilization, but also on focus on core activities and applications, activities that are more aligned with my job and function. So in this particular example here, one of the items that really jumps to me and recognizing that this is demo data, but it really represents what we are observing in a lot of organizations that we're having this type of conversations with is stage 0 users. So these are those sporadic users. We see them that utilization is higher on this particular maturity category. And typically, these are users that are getting the work done, perhaps, but they're working harder than the rest of the user population. If we look at it from a core activity perspective, these are productive activities that are related, very related to their function. We see also a drop on that core activity relative to the other maturity stages. And in comparing that user group with perhaps the stage 3 users, Javier made a good point on some of the findings on the state of the workplace that AI adopters or AI users are not necessarily just working less hours because they're more efficient, but they're actually working a significant number of hours, and they're able to potentially do more with the efficiency that they are gaining from AI. And this particular data point actually highlights some of those observations. Like at stage 3, we still see a higher utilization ratio, so they are meeting those baseline hours and the goals that you have defined for your teams. But when we also look into core activities, they are more focused on things that are associated to their job function, and that leads into more efficiency and more quality, higher quality of work. You have the ability to see these metrics, and again, breaking it down by starting with high-level organization-level views. But if we want to see how specific departments or teams might be impacted by the adoption of AI, then you have the ability to also see that same view as departments. So I hope you see that pattern, starting with a macro level view, going more into details of team level insights, so we can see where we can prioritize work. So a couple of areas here that you'll see is overall utilization at the team level, core activity efficiency at the team level as well, the AI users percentage, and then the percentage of individuals on that team on those specific maturity stages. Trend analysis is also part of this views, and being able to see your maturity adoption stages and how that's progressing over time, as well as the core activities, and seeing this kind of insight side by side and correlating those two will give you that better sense of not just are we using AI, but are we actually using it for the right purposes based on the job function. And that's where core activity and correlating the core activity component becomes an important aspect of this analysis.
Yeah, and Vic, this is where
Javier, just in case you want to add something more to that.
Yeah, this is where our work intelligence data set really shines, because you can start seeing the correlations between the levels of maturity, right, and these patterns and how we're putting people in different maturity stages against some key metrics of utilization and high value work, which we denominate core activity percentage, and seeing what is the trend as this AI gets more adopted. Is high value work increasing? In this particular case, we're saying yes, 9% of the individuals in this report, which are in stage 3, have the highest percentage of high value work. That's great. That's what you want to see. You want to see that reallocation of time to more high value work at 79% versus less high value work, which is what you see on stage 0. Those that are not using AI have only 60% of their time spent on high value work. And again, this is one of the configuration items that we have in our feature called activity alignment. For those of you that have it, that's how you would determine that. But you get to customize this by role and by individual if you choose to. But this allows us to correlate what you consider high value item, high value work for each role. Is it going up with AI or not? And is people burning out now because they're using more AI? In this case, what we see is a little bit of a U shape where most of the high utilized people are not using AI. They're not working very smartly, right? And so people that are using AI are having lower utilization. That's good to see. But then we see this effect that when you get really embedded into using AI, they're working more hours, which was one of the findings from our State of the Workplace report. So you want to manage that in a way that said, hey, how do I give more perhaps capacity or more team members for those teams that are highly embedded in using AI to produce more? Right? So this is where you can start applying this data to make strategy decisions around the capacity of the workforce, where you hire more, where you don't hire more, as well as where you want to drive more adoption because it's getting the right effects to you. Now, if these numbers didn't show these nice correlations, it would be hard to make those decisions, first and foremost. But second, we are also expecting to see that in some departments, AI is making zero effect on utilization or core value work. And that on itself is a very interesting finding because it means that your AI investment is not having any positive effect or no ROI in your business. And maybe you can curtail that AI investment, right? So this data can be used in many different ways by the different constituents that we talked about at the beginning, from the COO, your CFO, your CIO or CTO making technological decisions. But the important part is getting visibility in how AI adoption maturity affects change on all these other key work metrics that we at ActivTrak collect and analyze. So that's, I think, ultimately where this is going, and what we're hearing your request in the survey that we asked at the beginning. You all said that that's your top request. Your top challenge is, what is the impact of AI adoption on productivity? This is a report that helps you answer that, and there are drills that we'll share later at a future webinar that gets deeper into how we do that. But with that, maybe hand it back to you, Vic, to finalize the demo with some of those off-roading techniques that you have developed through LLMs.
Awesome. Thanks, Javier. And by the way, so you mentioned a great, this kind of leads into some functional aspect of this report that I wanted to show. So you mentioned being able to drill down at the department level, and we've kind of been keeping some of this functionality very high level, which is really powerful. But one of the items that really comes to mind as I think about how individuals are using some of these reports is really the simplicity that this adds into drilling into those departments. So if I want to go in and see how the software development team is changing over time, and what does those trends look like for that team? Are we progressing between one stage of adoption to the other? Are we increasing our efficiency over time? You also have the ability, these dashboards are very dynamic. We're looking at a 6-month trend right now, but I just wanted to share some of that functionality that's baked into that perhaps wasn't so obvious as we went through the demo, as you drill down into those specific functions or departments, how easy it is to really understand that data over time via this type of dashboards. So there is one more thing that I'm very excited to share with you, and is we've been talking up to this point about discovering AI, understanding maturity of AI, and also looking at the impact of AI in the organization. But what I wanted to show you is how AI can also help you consume all of those insights provided by ActivTrak to ActivTrak's own LLM and MCP capabilities. So I have this demo stage just for purposes of the time. But I wanted to walk you through the couple scenarios and the power that you have once we put in ActivTrak data via these LLMs, whether it's Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot. This is where you have the flexibility to really bring in the technologies that you've already sanctioned and start using them to also understand more insights, about your organization using ActivTrak in this case. And I wanted to share this experience with you, and I'm highlighting this. Hopefully the text is not so small so you can read it, but and I recognize this is a mouthful of a prompt here, but it really shows and highlights the power that LLMs can also bring in when you have the quality of data that ActivTrak can provide. So my prompt here, I went into Claude is what I use internally here. And I really threw in everything that we just walked through that AI adoption and impact dashboard into one single prompt. I say, I like the AI adoption report from last quarter. I like to understand team level trends, their maturity across teams. I want to see insights into workflows where AI is being used, any correlations between adoption, productivity, and focus, any usage across organizations. I also want to list all tools that people are using, and I like to know if they are unauthorized tools still being used across my organization. That is a laundry list of asks that, usually, if we get those kind of lists, from our leadership teams, like, okay, now this is where I'm going to spend my day trying to figure it out. When you use the power of the LLM and the power of the quality of the data that we bring in, plus all that domain expertise that you've seen we've developed on the systems, this becomes great. So the LLM went in, understood my trends, and it actually start firing. This is multi-threaded. Every one of those individual asks start firing individual queries against that data using our domain expertise that we've baked into the systems to go and understand what adoption means and all these concepts that Javier walked into that are already baked into this type of systems. And you can actually see the interactions here. I'm not going to use this particular piece because I wanted to show you just the LLM output. But one of the things that I do wanted to show you here is the artifact that you can provide and show you some of the same findings. That this is my inline chat and in Claude giving me those results, but translating into this particular artifact now that is a executive curated report. And my apologies here, my cursor is giving me some challenges here. In executive level report with all the findings on that one paragraph of prompt that I facilitated to the AI. So I have my AI adoption report for Q1. It already extracted that from my prompt, giving me my adoption rate out of all the user population. 88% of my users, almost 89% are using our AI adopters. We spent 402 hours on AI technology over the last quarter. That is significant for us to look into, averaging about 16 minutes per user per day across 6 different tools. Already, a lot of that compliance discovery is already baked into it. One of the findings and really interesting takes that I gathered from this particular output was the growth and the adoption trends that that my organization is going through. So, for example, in January, we have a number of users here that jump between January and February. We see that line here on the active users jump, and while that line remains steady between February and March, we see the jump on time between February and March on actual AI hours. So we see not just an increase of users, so there was probably an announcement or something between January and February, encouraging users for potentially training, facilitating them with access to certain AI tools. But in March, we also saw more adoption, users getting more comfortable with these technologies and actually spending more time doing those functions. This is something that the LLM does a really good job spelling out for you, highlighting the trends, calling out the observations that sometimes when we look at these dashboards, we're trying to wrap our head around, what does this really mean? So having that explanation being provided as part of the analysis makes this a lot easier for us to consume the content. AI hours per users was part of that output that I received. AI hours per team. So if you remember my prompt, I asked for team level breakdown of the AI hours. So the system went in, extracted all that data from the ActivTrak data, compiled those reports, and then put it in a format that was digestible breakdown by tool. That was another piece that I asked. And also I asked for approved and unapproved tools. So in this particular case, all my approved technologies here, which ones are the ones that are driving the charts, like, Claude AI in this particular case makes for 76% of my AI usage across 32 users. There's a little bit of ChatGPT and other technologies here. So if I want to consolidate, if I want to centralize some of these tools and standardize perhaps on what I want my employees to go and do, this is a good way to see which one is driving more traction. Perhaps people are more comfortable and even easier to embed within the processes. Your maturity distribution, again, a lot of what we've been seeing on that BI report was also reflected on this insights. Users on stage 0, users on stage 1. The majority of my users right now, 67% of those users in this particular subset of data were on that one research assistant stage 1, a little more advanced than the stage 0, and having the understanding of the amount of time on this. And I just want to fast track here. Don't want to really read everything that the output is. This is something that it can be pretty extensive, and you can also drill into follow-up questions based on the information that you're gathering. But just want to jump directly into some of the unsanctioned tools. It was one part of my prompt. Tell me if there's anything out there that shouldn't be there, that people are still adopting. So here I found that, while Cursor, Grammarly, and Copilot are still being seen within the scope of the data from last quarter, the activity or the amount of activities is declining, over time. So it looks like we are making progress moving from unauthorized tools into the official tools in this particular environment. And last but not least, the impact on productivity and the focus correlation that I also asked during my prompt. So I will pause here and turn it back to Javier, but I really wanted to show you not just how ActivTrak can help you understand AI adoption and insight, but also with the power of our data, how ActivTrak and LLMs can help you get more of that data and really boost your ability to go and extract these insights using LLM technology.
Thank you, Vic. I think this is very powerful, as you see, and you can get really a lot of insights from there. But I think at this point, what we want to do is find out who is interested to jump into this new capability. I think we have a poll to ask that particular question. Megan, can you be honest?
Yes, we sure do. Let's go ahead and see if we can go ahead and get that pushed out there so everybody can let us know. So Javier, can you remind us, when we're talking about AI insights, what are the things that we covered today that would fall under that category, just so people know, are reminded of what's included?
Yeah, the key elements of that capability is going to be looking into AI compliance. Where is there unsanctioned tool usage, personal tool usage that you need to be aware of to manage your risk, right? To avoid sharing information that might be sensitive. 2, adoption metrics, all the way to adoption maturity levels, right? We have all the gamut of the individual metrics of adoption, as well as putting people and teams in different buckets of maturity levels based on that frequency, length of sessions, type of interactions, context switching, all these different pieces. And the last but not least is, what is the impact that different levels of maturity of AI have on things like utilization, productivity, focus, span of the day, et cetera, because all are the ultimate elements that help you understand ROI of area investments and where you need to curtail and spend and where you need to invest more, right? Those are the 3 major capabilities that will be part of AI Insights. And we would love to have you join the early access adopters for that tool. And that's, I think, their next question in the poll.
Yes, that is what we've got popped up on the screen for folks. I see some people chiming in, which is awesome.
Raising their hand. Awesome.
Yes, raising their hand, letting us know. I don't know. I love that. I love what's coming. I'm so excited. Again, like even just back to what we talked about at the beginning, this is really directly addressing the things that are your pain points right now. And so I just always love it when we can help solve the problems that are like really happening. So let us know. I'm going to give you just another second, and then Javier will go through what's coming even further in the future, which is also super exciting and such a cool thing to be able to see a sneak peek. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out for right now so we can move to the next one because we're almost right at time. But then also while he's talking, if for some reason you want some sort of follow-up, you can chime in that little box right below and send us an email. My team will get it to the right person. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the roadmap, Javier.
Thank you. And I'll only just going to spend 2 minutes to be respectful of your time. I know we're near to end of the time allotted here, but just to acquaint everyone, what we show you is what's in that first box on the far left, right? AI compliance, adoption, maturity, and impact, and all of that will be available both in the BI interface that Victor demo, as well as in the web application out of the box reports, right? So that's where you all are raising your hands right now. Then in July and September, we're going to add the ability to get deeper into that visibility. The depth of the visibility would be higher, meaning you will be able to get into understanding the embedded AI usage, meaning when you're using AI inside Excel or inside Google Docs or inside your code IDE, right? That was one of the questions. We're right now already having versions of that being built, and will be out in market by those timeframes, July and September. But one is for websites, the other one is for executables or desktop applications. And then by November, we're going to add the ability to analyze prompts in a privacy-first approach, meaning we're not going to get into any of the details of the prompt. Anything that is PII will be stripped out or not captured. All that we're looking at is what are the tasks that people are executing through those prompts. Because if you think about it, in the LLM world, the prompt is the equivalent of the URL or the application that you're accessing, because it's what it's telling you what work you're doing with the LLM. That's why we're going to do that. All of these will be opt-in capabilities, meaning you can choose to get deeper into that. You can choose to not go deeper into that. We see still a ton of value, even if you don't collect that type of information, but it will be your choice depending on the type of use cases and workflows that you're trying to improve with that information. But that's roughly speaking what we're looking at in our roadmap. And with that, we'll get to the last part of the equation, which is kind of the packaging. Where are these different capabilities in our stack? You were asking, hey, why am I not seeing that in my app? Where is that? I have ActivConnect. This slide, I think, spells out what we were talking about, which is Vic first showed what we already have in the product in all our plans, what is the tech utilization, which is only in professional and premium. And the AI insights will be an add-on to professional and premium. That's how we're going to roll it out here in May, as we were talking about. And so all the demonstration was around that. And it will be available both in the web app as through BI reporting, as well as the LLM insights will be later in the year, where the Claude interface that Vic demo at the end is what the last part of the puzzle that will come out towards the end of the year. So in the next 6 months, we're jam-packed with a lot of great capabilities to complete the story here based on all your requests and requirements. So we're very excited to bring it to market. So love to see you get your feedback on that.
Yes. Thank you, Javier. Thank you, Vic. We are a couple of minutes over time. Thanks to everyone who stuck with us. If you do want, to continue the conversation, because one, maybe you're not a customer yet and you saw this, you're like, this is amazing, but I'd like a full-on demo. Please let us know. Choose option C there. And then also, if you are a customer and you want either your salesperson to contact you or your CSM, just go ahead and let us know, and we will get this directly, and they will follow up with you, so that if you have questions or if you need to just reach out to them, and we will go ahead and connect that for you. So I'll give everyone just a minute to do that. Otherwise, I just want to say thanks again to Vic and to Javier. I'm so excited about all these things that are coming out. It's such an exciting time. And I can't wait to see them as they roll out. So everyone, please join us for future webinars. Go to that ActivTrak 101. That is tomorrow, that office hour style session. If you want a little bit more of that one-on-one question and answer, that's a great session to go to for that. And make sure that you're configured correctly so all your reports are accurate. I can't emphasize that enough. It really does matter. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and close it out. Everyone, have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you all.